Welcome to another Tempo Storm Meta Snapshot breakdown. The Hearthstone meta is in flux following the release of the latest expansion, Fractured in Alterac Valley. The latest expansion has spiced up the meta, leaving players to experiment with all of the new cards that the set brought us. Despite this, some older decks, such as Garrote Rogue, are still making a mess of the ladder, agitating some players. If you find yourself in this camp, don't worry. Blizzard has told us that a balance patch will be coming after the World's Championship, focusing on the old, somewhat oppressive decks. Despite this, we want to take a look at the meta and analyze it as is currently. Before we jump into Tier 1, please be sure to subscribe to our channel to be kept up to date with all of our Hearthstone content. Now let's jump right in. Leading off Tier 1 is Miracle Garrote Rogue. This archetype remains the most powerful after the release of the latest expansion, despite not really receiving many new tools. While some lists have opted to run cards such as the new Scab's Hero card or Blackwater Cutlass from the mini set, the majority are just playing with the pre-expansion list. This archetype is extremely popular still, both due to its raw power and also its matchup spread, as it performs well against a lot of the more popular decks on ladder, such as Owl Warlock. Garrote Rogue remains one of the harder decks to pilot on ladder, but it continues to reward those who invest the time into mastering it. Sadly, we're pretty likely to see it nerfed in the coming weeks, so hopefully its power gets toned down. Garrote Rogue performs best against slower decks such as Owl Warlock or Hand Warlock, due to them giving you time to assemble your own combo. Typically, they won't be able to prevent you from going off, leaving you to close out the game at your own pace. As for bad matchups, Garrote struggles with OTK Demon Hunter, as they can get to their combo at a similar pace as you, but they also have access to Glide to disrupt your combo. Next in Tier 1 is Libram Paladin. This deck gained quite a bit from the expansion, with both Lightforged Cariel and Stonehearth Vindicator giving the deck more versatility than before. Thanks to this, Libram Paladin has spiked in power and consistency, leaving it a staple for ladder. Libram Paladin is much easier to play than Garrote Rogue, making it a good choice for those looking for more linear games. We recommend checking it out as it's unlikely to be nerfed in the upcoming balance changes. Libram Paladin has a great matchup spread, but its best matchup is against Anaconda Druid and Quest OTK Demon Hunter, making it a good cue if you run into players trying to counter Garrote Rogue. On the other hand, Libram Paladin has a very rough time against OTK Shaman, as you don't have enough reach to kill them while they freeze your board, giving them endless time to assemble their combos and burst you down. The next deck making an appearance in Tier 1 is the previously mentioned Owl Warlock. This OTK deck is considered one of the more simple combo decks than we've had in quite some time. The early game is spent drawing, and then usually a few turns after you've played Owl, you can close out the game using a combination of small minions, Tamsin's Phylactery, Tamsin Roam, and an AoE card to kill their opponent. This combo can do an absurd amount of damage out of seemingly nowhere, making it nearly impossible to outlive the burst. A lot of players weren't happy with the inception of this deck due to the previous meta being filled with combo decks, and adding another one to it was the breaking point for many players. Owl Warlock has a good matchup spread, with a lot of its matchups being very one-sided, whether it's on the dealing or receiving end. For example, the deck performs very well against aggressive decks such as Face Hunter or Freeze Shaman due to how much healing you have access to, giving you ample time to get towards your combo. In terms of unfavorable matchups, other combo decks such as Anaconda Druid or Quest OTK Demon Hunter prove to be faster, and if they play it right, their ability to disrupt your combo with Glide or Celestial Alignment can be game-winning. The last deck in Tier 1 is Freeze Shaman. This deck is the definition of uninteractive, and it has been giving players flashbacks to the old Freeze Mage days. If you thought Frost Nova was bad, imagine that effect on a minion that gets larger for each frozen minion. Yeah, it's pretty annoying. Freeze Shaman plays off of the self-titled mechanic, thanks to cards such as Wind Chill, Sleepbreaker, and most importantly, Snowfall Guardian. Even when players have endured the chilling winter of 2 Snowfall Guardians, they still have to get through the brilliant macaws. This archetype performs best against board-centric decks, as the freeze can often lock them out of the game. If they ever fill their board with minions, you can essentially deny them a turn by board locking them as well. However, Freeze Shaman struggles against decks that typically ignore the board, as a lot of their cards don't receive any value, making Hand Warlock and Anaconda Druid probably problematic for the deck. Tier 1 is relatively diverse, with multiple archetypes making an appearance within the tier. Lucky for us though, the second tier is also littered with a versatile array of decks. With everything from OTK to aggro decks, Tier 2 shows us truly how many viable archetypes make an appearance in this meta. Today we're going to take a look at the 2 best decks within this tier, but if you want to take a deeper dive, head over to tempostorm.com for a full analysis of our meta snapshot breakdown. Leading Tier 2 is one of the most interesting combo decks we've had in quite some time, OTK Shaman. This deck is built around the Bolner and Yshiraj combo, which allows you to have access to an infinite amount of corrupted circus medics, giving you endless burn. This archetype has been theorized for quite some time, but the freeze effects and new shaman hero, Brucon of the Elements, have given the deck much needed stall time, allowing them to take as long as needed to assemble all of the combo pieces. Honestly, OTK Shaman is a deck that could climb the tier list and find itself in Tier 1 once mastered by enough players, but for now we're happy to place the deck in the top of the second tier. This deck has a great matchup against board-based decks such as Libram Paladin or Face Hunter due to your freeze effects coupled with the healing from Circus Medic and Brucon. Much like other combo decks, it finds itself struggling with Celestial Alignment and Glide, therefore making Anaconda Druid and OTK Demon Hunter bad matchups for the deck. The last deck we're looking at today is Face Hunter. Much like Death and Taxes, Face Hunter's presence is a near certainty, and the deck shows no signs of falling from grace without a balance patch. Honestly, if left untouched, Face Hunter probably stands to climb back to Tier 1 next patch, but only time will tell what cards Blizzard is focused on nerfing. Luckily for players limited on Dust, Face Hunter only gained 1 new card, which is everyone's favorite, Iron Deep Trog. This card has excellent synergy with both Doggy Biscuit and Ramming Mount, making it a sizable threat against any deck, and can win you games on turn 1 or 2. Face Hunter has a very similar matchup spread as it did in previous sets, with its best matchups being against decks that struggled to interact with early pressure, with both Anaconda Druid and Hand Warlock often succumbing to your pressure in the first few turns of the game. Coincidentally, you do often find yourself losing to Owl Warlock though, due to their healing and easy to achieve game plan. Fractured in Alterac Valley has had a much larger impression on the meta than many players expected. Sadly, some of the old decks such as Garrote Rogue are still leaving their mark all over the ladder, and they will need some nerfs before we truly get to experience this card set for all it has to offer. We here at Tempo Storm can't wait to play with the new cards following the nerfs, and we're even hopeful that we may see buffs to a few weaker cards. How are you enjoying the newest set? Are you enjoying it, or have you fled to Battlegrounds until the next patch? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be kept up to date with all of our Hearthstone content. We'll see you next time.